Mama. Mountain back to Atlantic Ocean. Over me hills to country. To educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focused on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Talking about culture. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement, articulation, focus on Liberia, focus on Liberia, focus on Liberia, from Monday to Sunday, focus on.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday on FOL, and you know what it is. When it is Friday, it is debate time. And so tonight we're here to debate. Naturally, we'll debate the trending issues. And so we're glad to welcome you here. Let me welcome our panelists as well. Tonight, we're happy to have a female on set. Welcome, my dear sister, Glennie.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's good to be back on.
Welcome,
Happy
Olympian.
Independence Day.
Yep. Welcome, Olympian Mom. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I just said
Okay.
Happy Independence Day.
Okay. And let's welcome on set also the unabashed sedition, Jerome Gaiman. Welcome, Jerome.
Oh, God.
Today is July 26th. Where's your shirt? Where is your patriotism? Where is your patriotism? Don't just talk Liberia. Where Liberia? Thank you very much.
Welcome. And let's welcome our dear friend, Thomas. Thomas, all the way from, is that Iowa? Am I correct, Thomas?
Illinois.
Illinois, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, and good to be here. Hi to all the panelists and the listeners.
Thank you. Of course, our staunch Wakai supporter, Aliyah Kamara. Welcome, Mr. Kamara.
What, Mrs. Moba? Why she ran away all this while? But great to be here. Unfortunately, German is here.
Unfortunately. Okay. Let's welcome Dr. Clarence Pearson. Welcome, Clarence.
Thank you, Nagbe. It's good to be on set tonight. Thanks for having me. Hi to all the panelists out there, and happy 26th to all of you in our listening audience.
And finally, but not least, last not least, let's welcome Gabriel Carter on set. Welcome, Gabriel.
It's good to be here. Looking forward to having a good discussion about everything we want to talk about today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so happy Independence Day again to all. Liberia is 177 years old. And so we're here tonight to celebrate and also talk about what has happened, especially what happened today. So the trending issue, of course, is the oration that was delivered today. So today we'll look at what it is that we expect our orators to do. What do we expect them to accomplish? What does the government look for when they make the choice, when they select an orator? What makes a good oration? Our producers here have produced sort of suggestive roadmap of what to expect Some of the key points include a good oration is being suggested to deliver, to celebrate the nation's achievements. What has we achieved over 177 years? It should honor the history, acknowledge our founders, highlight our progress. It should inspire. It should foster national pride, unify the audience. It should reflect on values and principles, reaffirm our core values, encourage civic responsibility, address current challenges by acknowledging present issues, and call the nation to action. Offer hope for the future. It should offer vision for the future. It should motivate positive change. There should be a personal connection. It should engage the audience and express gratitude. So those are some of the key points that our producers believe a good oration should address. Lady and gentlemen, welcome aside. Today, let's make the rounds here, 1 minute each. What is your impression? What did you take away from today's program?
You want to start from me?
Yes, let's go. Let's do that, Mr. Kamara.
Okay. In the entire speech, other than recognizing the founders in that speech, everything else that you just listed was in that speech. She talked about everything that we've done wrong for the most part. And the personal note, yeah, as you can see, I mean, the Sajid affair walked out. It was personal. It hit her. It hit her really hard. So everything pretty much was in that speech, in my opinion.
Okay, Mr. Goodman, do you think the speech, the program today, delivered what it was supposed to do?
Absolutely. To me, it was one of the most balanced oration I have seen or heard or listened to in my lifetime. And I'm going to tell you, I would like to divide the speech into two spheres. One would be international and two would be domestic. And on the international, let me just read something real quick from a famous book that we all read from George Mittman, The Empire of Rubber. And I'll read just a snippet.
This is our introduction now. We'll come back to the details.
Yes, I'm introducing this to you.
Okay.
And this is what the basis of the international argument. So in the early 1920s, America owned 80% of the world automobile and consumed 75% of the world's rubber. But United States had only 1% of the world rubber grown under its flag, threatening the nation's explosive economic expansion. To solve this conundrum, the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company turned to a tiny West African nation, founder called Liberia, founded in 1847 for the free slave, blah, blah, blah. It was the answer to the conundrum. And I will stop there.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. Mr. Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Nagbe. I think for me, those points that you highlighted, as you said, you can find pieces of it. I mean, the beginning of the speech was back to our independence. How did we even get this independence? It was a kind of defiance. And I think that defiance for me did not even start with Liberia and Haiti getting independence. It goes back to the defiance of the slaves that were here. I mean, if you go back to history, all the rebellions that they had, cattle rebellion and all of these rebellions, which eventually led to the free slaves being taken off these shores and sent back to Africa. So it went back to the history. It actually talked about how we've come along, the unification day that we had. Have we really unified ourselves to be able to work as a unified country? Do we really, as a country, have we strived to be able to achieve this independence that we actually got? So I think it's a whole list of reflecting on our country from Independence Day now. And for me, it's the title that actually encapsulates it, a radical agenda for reimagining Liberia. Can we just pause for a moment and be able to reimagine where we've come from and where we intend to go? So this is why I think we should analyze the entire speech as a speech in totality.
Thank you. Gabriel, do you think the speech did what it was meant to do?
I think I would just piggyback on what Gilman and Thomas said. I think this is probably the best oration that I've heard since I've been listening to that of the country. I think they should make that, put that in some kind of archive to treasure that speech, because I think it invokes from the beginning, like Thomas said, it talks about how we fought, the forefather fought to maintain the sovereignty of the country. In the middle of the speech, she talked about getting us dignity, equality of the country. Then she closed it up to the piece where she wanted Liberia to aspire to, the country she wanted her to aspire to, of industrializing. I can't believe she even talked about industrializing a country where every Liberia will have economic, mobility in our country to be able to self-actualize. I think this was probably the best speech, oration that was, that I've heard, and I think it covers everything that is supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll come to you last, Bending. Clarence, do you think today's speech was celebrated enough of our founders? Do you think it it inspired our young people today to be hopeful for the future?
Thank you, Nangme, and thanks for allowing me to be on tonight. When I look at the speech, I would say yes. I wouldn't say it's the best of speeches given at our independence, but it's one of those. It's going to be one of those historic speeches. And the reason I say that is that it's pan-African, it's anti-colonial, it's progressive, it's current, it's contextual, and it's politically relevant for our times. And I think when you put all of that together, this is not a speech that's going to go away anytime soon. A lot of the time, these speeches are just symbolic. They merely make any impact on our political or domestic political or international policy. But I don't expect, from your question, I don't expect that Liberians will understand the intricacy of the speech for the most part, because as we speak right now, the social media, including government officials and Liberians in general, are all upbeat over her condemnation of the United States contribution towards Liberia as compared to all of the more relevant and other more vital things that she mentioned. So yeah, it's gonna receive a mixed reaction, and I think that's gonna be missed. Yeah.
So yeah, I think and Glending, I want you to chime in on this. I think she set about to start a conversation, and I think she may have succeeded. I mean, let's be honest. This lady, her bio, says she's an activist, right? A scholar activist, and so yeah, she went to Howard, and then she also went, to school in London. So obviously, she knows her international audience as well as her local audience. Do you think she addressed both local and international audience successfully, Glendon?
So hello everybody, and to everybody who's watching. I also want to acknowledge that today is our Independence Day, but to also send kudos to Team Liberia. Liberia was represented today at the Olympics. At the Olympic ceremony, it was a proud moment to be able to watch our Liberian children represent our country. We want to acknowledge them and want to wish them all the very best. What did she accomplish? I wouldn't know, because the first question is, what is it that the government was looking for? I tend to want to agree with what you say, Victor. If she accomplished, the least I would think that we all would probably agree to is that she has accomplished the conversation. It's been talked about everywhere. Everyone is talking about it. I like that Clarence gave a synopsis of who this lady is, that every one of us, that some people are trying to avoid. And just listening to Clarence tells you that she's an activist. And that's what activism is. They have issues, they have things that they want to talk about. There's an opening. There was a window today for her to speak out on some of those issues and give a voice. And that's what she did. Should I say that the government of Liberia was happy with the fact that their strongest ally walked out today? Would that have been something that the government was in favor of? I don't know. Because if we're hearing that the government also did not have an opportunity to read the speech prior, then I want to say, what is it that she really accomplished? She talked about in her thing she wanted to inspire and incite. So what is the inspiration in the speech? Yes, it could be that she's a young woman. She has an opportunity to speak. She spoke about an issue. What I don't, and I applaud the fact that we had an opportunity to listen to her, and well learned, and I have followed her, so I know her activism and I know her background. But what my discontent is about the speech is that the speech was only focusing a little portion. Yes, she outlined some of the things that's happening in the government, the yellow machine, and people coming to work on time, different things she talked about. But what was missing from that speech is what is our role in what Liberia is today? What has our leaders done? If we focus on America, what about the leaders, the Liberian leaders? If we don't want America to be in the role that they're in, what have we done to make our country independent? So it's a big question to say, the government officials, did she accomplish what was set out to be accomplished today? Are they satisfied with the outcome of the speech today? Is what we need to look at. As far as it relates to the fact that she's an activist, 100% she accomplished a lot. There's talked about this speech is not going to go away. I wouldn't term it as the best speech, but I think a speech that has given rise to a conversation that needs to be held. That's how I would describe it.
Mr. Nagbe.
Thank you, Glenny. Yes, Mr. Kamara.
When we make this statement, keep on emphasizing on the phrase she's an activist. It's like we are trying to delete the fact that she's a specialist in African history. That lady did not go over there to teach history. She went over there to let an eye awaken up. It's just telling you to open up your eyes to some things. And I'm telling you that she has specific details of everything that she said over there. But the speech was not meant for that. We must understand that she has deep background understanding of African historicity. So to continue to emphasize on, oh, she's an activist, maybe we're just dismissing her.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. I mean, we will come down to, I think, what everyone is talking about, which, of course, is the walking out of the U.S. delegation ID. But I think there are other things in this speech today that I don't want us, to lose sight of. She talked about the audacity, the defiance. That's the word she used. Defiant. In fact, she wants the day to be called in Defiance Day as opposed to Independence Day. But she believes that some people regard this as defiance in defeat.
Yes.
Do we think she has a point here? Jerome, do we think we are some people in Liberia have feeling, even though we're defiant to the slave masters and we fought for our freedom, but yet a lot of people are feeling defeated.
Well, when we're talking about defiance, we can look at it in both ways. Was it defiance on the southern plantations where they were relegated to slavery? Or we are talking about in defiance when the slaves or the free slaves landed on Liberia and the indigenous people fought in defiance? So we have to define what defiance is, because there was a struggle between the settlers and the aborigines. And in that, there was and we are still in defiance of that. So we need to look at that. But some of the things that she talked about, remember, this lady she's a unity partisan, okay? She was she was one of the young brains that Ellen brought on during her administration to help chart the course of the country, including one of the young ladies on our own show here, Kau. Those were the people that Ellen brought on. So yes, she has a vested interest where she talked about it on the domestic side, that this president have hired people with shady characters. And he said, you know who they are and you know who you are. This is not what we were talking about. This is not what we meant for the new democracy. That you have surrounded yourself with kleptocrats, basically thieves. So she hit him hard. She hit the administration. And she talked about the in her own defiance, when you talk about the arrest, which is agriculture and all the fancy words that they threw around. And she is saying that we are not even living up to that. We are not transparent. And then she used the yellow machine as an example. And she warned him to actually go and readjust, okay? Go and restart. And then she went on. So she didn't just dwell on the international. She dwelled on what Ms. Genius is saying here, okay? What is our role? What have we done? Right. This is what she's saying. We can blame America all we want, but if we are buying 287 yellow machines at a hefty cost behind the scene under the table, then who are we to say we should defy the United States? So it was a mixed bag. This is what I'm saying. It was one of the best I have listened to, because everybody walk out of there angry. Forget about what they write on social media. Those are deflection. They don't want to discuss the issue as the lady brought them on. She hit us. She hit them. She hit everybody hard. So those who want to deflect and say this is only America, they want us to only concentrate on the walkout, okay? Because it's the biggest topic. But what's about the corruption? What's about the corruption, not only in government now? I'm talking about you send $50 home to your cousin and he schemed 10 cents from the top. You send money to build houses, they rob you. Government people don't just go into government to be corrupt. They are corrupt before they go into government. So these are all, it's a potpourri of things that she's talking about. And we all need to discuss it holistically, not just the United States.
Thank you, Jerome. Yeah, so Dr. Pearson Clarence. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we could say there's a tinge of paradox here. All right, she describes our forefathers, forebears, as, being audacious and fighting defiantly in the face of slavery. But yet she says here, and I read here, she says, we practice unfreedom of poverty and inequity of structural violence. On the unfreedom of poverty and the inequity of structural violence. So we were audacious enough to fight for our own freedom, and yet we're perpetuating unfreedom of our compatriots and unleashing structural violence on these people. What do you think?
That's deep right there.
Yes.
And she made a very good point. But before I get to that, there's something I don't want us to miss out on. There's a geopolitical shift in our world today, where African politics is shifting from the west to the east. All right, and then we have the BRICS countries coming together, and a lot of African countries now are gravitating towards the BRICS. And then a lot of these groups on the side of the BRICS are in Africa are anti-colonial, and they are bent on advocating for freedom from neo-colonialism. They want Africa to be free from a large extent from a lot of things. So I can see that she's coming from that persuasion. However, when you come inside Liberia, from the question you asked, from the time African countries started to gain the independence, and the last time Thomas helped us to go to reflect on how Liberia contributed towards the independence of a lot of our African brothers in the 60s, coming to the 70s. And the thing about our independence is that after we got free of the colonial powers, as they would put it at the time, emancipated, we are lacking severely in leadership on the continent. And for the most part, a lot of the African leaders who try to stand up and take some very strong stance on Africa moving forward, turning the back on some of the things that she referred to, and even strongly spoke against the United States. People who they didn't like it in the West came back and maliciously and clandestinely assassinated a lot of those leaders with this persuasion. So, so what those leaders who were more favorable to post-colonial times leaders, what they did now is that they have some structural architecture put into place, structural political architecture put into place, and she referred to it as on freedom, but I mean inequalities, where they put a majority of the population of the African continent into severe poverty, and few people got rich or lived favorably. And because those few people were answering to the West at the time and being manipulated to control the political environment, the majority of the people remain impoverished, and corruption increased. And even those corrupt leaders were still pumping money in the corruption. And then at the end of the day, all of the majority of the contribution that came towards Africa was either squandered or misapplied. But these guys did nothing about them. And then we see the movement for change in Africa when countries started to rise up and radical leaders started to stand up, Muammar Gaddafi and others, Kianta and some other guys who stood up, and they tried to. Now we got Paul Kagame, we got William Ruto. These are all guys who are advocating, saying, "Listen, we need to shift from a structural design that have been given us, the IMF, the World Bank, all of the institutions that are designed to hold us hostage. And how can we liberate ourselves from that and make Africa independent?" I think these are the ideologies that she's bringing, and our politicians are not going to like it. I would say this to you, frankly, as definitely, trying to defend it on air today, on social media platform, trying to say that she's being, disrespectful, she's being disingenuous to America. But when you look at it keenly, our leaders, they are not doing a service to our people. And some of those structural disadvantages you talk about will be inequalities in the system. And everybody don't have access to the rule of law. You wouldn't get access to the rule of law when you're among the elite. Poverty is only for the poor. The rich still getting richer. And these are the fundamental things that she's trying to address. And I hope that our politicians will pay attention, but I know they will not. These speeches are usually just ceremonial, and after the occasion, that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. Yeah, the BRICS nation, I don't know. It's just you remove America and replace Russia, China, Brazil, and all these people. I will see how far they go with this. But yes, of course, something is happening on the continent. We'll talk about that, I guess, on another day. Thomas, Glennie made a point here, and I don't want us to gloss over this. It is easy for us to blame other people for our problems, right? She did talk a lot about what is happening internally. Unfortunately, the attention now is on what she said about our partners with our special relationship. What is our role here? You are a policy wonk here. You study analytics and all of this. What would you say is our responsibility? Just in very short sentences, as Liberians, as regards our where we are today, 177 years later.
You see, majority of a large portion of the speech was directed to us Liberians. Like I said, only 2 or 3 paragraphs were looking out there. This is why I said from my opening that it was good for us to discuss this speech from the beginning onward. Like the point you mentioned, if we go back to the issue of defiance, right, I think we have to see it in a context. Many of the countries in Africa who fought for independence, they see it as defiance. And it's not only Africa. Let's not forget Latin America, Asia. A century ago, all of these countries were under colonialism. These countries had to fight for freedom. So they defied those who colonized them and came out. Ours was a little different. Before, for instance, Africa was partitioned, we were already around. We had this independence.
Yeah.
So I will see that defiance. Yes, like she said it. I will see that defiance. I will see that defiance in the context of that. That even when the whole Africa was under colonialism, we said we could actually govern ourselves. That was defiance. So it's not in the context of defiance from defying somebody who directly colonized us. Because if you go back to our history, what we all learned in school was our independence was basically based on taxes. Because we wanted people who were trading along the ocean to pay taxes to us, and they said they wouldn't do it. And it's also even linked to this country's independence. They gained independence from Great Britain simply because they wanted to have control over their own taxes. But I think there are fundamental issues that were said in most of the part of the speech that is directed towards us and not directed to other people. For instance, she spoke about the issue of looking at independence today as a defeat. And this is a question that many Liberians ask. Okay, we're independent. We are the oldest independent nation in Africa. But what is it that we've gotten? What is it that we have done for ourselves? So that question goes back to anyone who has led Liberia from 1847 to today. And then, like you said, she spoke about the issue of structural violence. That since the Civil War ended, we've not achieved positive peace, we've achieved negative peace. And negative peace is just we quieted the guns. We are no longer shooting guns, but we still have hugely and deep-rooted inequality, right? Structural violence, health, economic, gender, and racial or disparities, on freedom, institutional and structural barriers that fuel inequality and injustice. So many of these things that she's talking about is for us to rethink. Even when we got independence from 1847, when did the native Liberians start to vote? The women, for instance, when did they start to vote in Liberia? So we have had these inequalities. Participation, when do we have multi-party democracy? So even though we have independence, but we have had these barriers and structural challenges that have made us to be where we are today. Why did we even go to civil war? So I think the speech is really documenting how we have come along as a country. This is where we really need to reflect on it, rather than just taking two paragraphs and discussing it. So I think much of what she said, one of the things she said is that we have enough resources to provide to our basic needs, don't we? She said we sell our natural resources to the highest bidder. Don't we do it with all these concessions that we see? So I think much of what she said, we as Liberians should be the one who should be provoked and have it as part of discussion. And for me, this is where I disagree with Clarence, for instance. We are currently developing our national development plan. Can we look at what she said today to see how can we change our development policy in the next 6 years? Rather than just saying this is Independence Day speech, after the celebration, we just place it out there and we go about our business. Then 2-3 years from now, somebody will come and deliver the same speech. So we need to fight to address the issue of poverty, which is where we show our real independence, get our people out of poverty.
Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, I mean, absolutely agree. They say peace is not necessarily the absence of war, but she did say a lot, and we're trying to unpack here, Gabriel. I know you run another show on financial literacy, and management. She did say we are 100 years ahead of most of our neighboring countries, right? And when most of our neighboring countries were becoming independent, we had already been independent over 100 years. So now here we are, 177 years. We're still borrowing generator from Ghana, um, you know, um, what do you think, from your perspective, Gabriel? And what responsibility do we bear here? Is it fair for us to continue to look to outsiders to make us into what we ought to be?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question, and I think I said this from the opening of my argument is that if you read the speech in entirety, she segmented it, and I think we keep alluding to this. She segmented it from the struggle we faced, and then she talked about some of the inequality, inequity. She talked about inequity, dignity. You have Liberians, you have dignities, and then she ended with the aspiration of what the country should be, right? I think she talked about industrialization and all of those things. Now, if and this is why I don't agree with those who, want to just look at one side of the argument. instead of looking at the speech in entirety. If you look at our history as from the economics lens, because I think sometimes we tend to just focus on the political aspect of it, forgetting to know that the economic aspect drives what the discussion we have in the political lens. If you look at our country as the economic history, yes, we got our independence, we got liberty, but it was barely what we were hanging on to. You can go to the Firestone with the contract where we almost became a protectorate of the United States. And Harvey Firestone was fighting for that he made Liberia become a protectorate, right? And the forefather that she was talking about, these people that fought for our independence, fought tooth and nails to ensure that we remain a sovereign nation, right? You look at the loans that were given to us, the first 500, going to from that to the 1.7 million. Fast forward to the 80s, where we got the PL 480, where we got 440 million. That's supposed to make us full secure, right? We blundered all of that, all of those resources. Matter of fact, the 1.7 million before it even got in the coffers, the 500,000 before it even got in the coffers of the government, half of it was gone, right? Half of it was gone. And that corruption began up to date since then, and it continued up to now, right? So if you look into her speech, it's not just about holding the United States accountable, right? But she's also holding us accountable, right? The PL 480 is supposed to make us full secure. Under the auspices of the current president, half of that money was gone. It was borrowed, people couldn't pay back, and we never, we had a shared account with the United States. The United States put their part in where we're supposed to come and put our portion in. We did not do that. And that money disappeared. Equivalent today, that's almost $1 billion at that time. Fast forward, and this is where I think she put the onus on America. Fast forward to the 14 years of civil war we had. When that war ended, what is happening in Ukraine right now, where a reconstruction bank is being developed to rebuild Ukraine? The same thing happened in Liberia. We're supposed to have a reconstruction of Liberia, right? Almost over $200 million supposed to go to Liberia to reconstruct Liberia, right? That money was opposed by the United States, and I think these are some of the things she was talking about, right? And in essence, in actuality, it was funneled through NGO. This is why after the war, you saw the proliferation of NGOs. So she looked at the context of the country from where we were. Yes, we had resources coming in terms of the help we're getting from the United States, and the mismanagement that we've had as a people to paint a picture of why we are evil to our fellow citizens. She talked about the violence, right? The inequality, right? And the industrialization that she wants us to aspire to. So I think if you look at the speech in entirety, it's not just she calling out the United States, and we're looking at her as as somebody who's just having this anti-colonial sentiment. No, I think she's holding everybody accountable, and I think we should look at it from that standpoint. I will say this one thing, and I will end. The part of it that I really liked is the part where she holds this government accountable, meaning she talked about the rule of law. She gave the analogy of the yellow machine, right? She called out the politician, all right, and some of the corruption that is happening in the country, right? And she even vehemently, cautioned the president of some of the appointment that he made, right? So this speech, I think, it's one of the best speeches we should look at, instead of people looking at it as a divisive, as the United States look at it, that it paint a division. It's not a painting. It didn't paint a division. At the every end of the year, New Year's Day, right? When you go somewhere to sit down to reflect on the entire year, you look at the opportunity you had during that year, whether you accomplish some of your goals. You also look at the goals that you're going to set for the next year that come, right? By looking at having that entire reflection gives you a better sense of what you can accomplish in the future. And I think that's exactly what she did with this speech. And I think that's exactly how we should look at it, and continue to look at it that way, as opposed to taking it in bit and pieces and giving an abstract version of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Glendy. You know she challenged us on many levels, right? Yes, she said we're audacious enough to declare self-rule. We're capable of governing ourselves. You know, I read the statement put out by the U.S. government, U.S. embassy. You know, they are announcing they're giving her $163 million yearly. You know, yes, I'm one who questioned the so-called special relationship, but 163 million, that is the budget of a school district with maybe 2,000, 3,000 students. You're giving a whole country $163 million, and that's you're making a big deal. But on the back end of that too, we know the stories of our health workers in Canada, for instance, taking the poor project money and converting it to their personal use. I mean, the stories abound in Liberia. They bring the money, they put it in the bucket got hole inside, the money passes inside. So help us out here, Glenny. I mean, where are we? They're giving us peanuts, and yet we are so anxious to corrupt the peanuts. We can't show anything, even for the peanut, as small as it is. So can we make a claim here to self-governance?
Of course, we must do that. And I want to say I was talk about people opinion. I mean, I hear Gabriel talking about don't interpret it this way. I hear Thomas telling who is to say how one should interpret a speech. I'll interpret it the way I want to. I'll focus on the issues that is concerning to me. I don't have to look at the speech in its entirety. I'm just going to look at that statement and just what you're saying, Victor. We have to bring in good governance and what they've given us. And even $100 million, they shouldn't even be giving that to us in the first place. So we shouldn't even minimize that support and make it look like, oh, it's a small amount. Why are they even giving it to us? And when you're looking at her speech and she's saying, lest we forget the United States will always serve its own interests above all else. Whose interest should they serve? Liberia's interests? Why is not Liberia not serving their own interests? And I want to go back to Aliu's comment. She describes herself as an activist, whether you want to hear or not. And you can say to someone, why you saying activist, and activist means this, and activist. I can interpret activism as how I see it and what I believe it to be. But there is something that's even more concerning to me in her speech. She said, I would like to renew previous calls to adopt national symbols and represent the cultural breadth and historical depth. Are you trying to talk about American Liberians concerning versus cultural Liberians? What is the point here? What is the issue of raising this point here? Why do we need to change symbols now? Should we change the seal? Why should we change these things? I understand, yes, the speech had a lot in it, but I'll say again, we have to look at good governance. We have to look at what our leaders have done to be able to contextualize this speech. And we cannot continue to say the fact that she didn't blame Liberian governments of what they've done. And we just look at the fact that, oh, Liberia is depending on America, don't depend on America. America hasn't done much. America haven't done that. What has Liberians done for themselves? How have they managed what have been given to them?
Mr. Nagbe, do you want me to respond to that question?
Thomas, I'll come to you. Glenny, are you done?
It wasn't a question, though. It was my comment.
Thomas, I'll come to you. Mr. Kamara has been sitting for a while. Mr. Kamara, Glenny is making a point here, right? She did call on the legislature, for instance, the legislature to reduce their salary at least by 20%. These people make $180,000 at least, at minimum, right? And we're crying for generator. I mean, I will keep saying it because it's the latest thing on the block. We have no cars for our police. The hospital have no electricity, but yet 103 people make a minimum of $180,000 each. Do you think the Americans have a good reason for disrespecting her the way they did today?
First of all, let me say to my darling Glendy, you over simplify the conversation where you say, I can just talk in my own way. I can do it my own way. If I want to define it, I define it that
I
way.
can.
That,
It's subjective. It's
that tells
subjective.
me,
I
that
can.
tells, that I know you can. That tells me you don't have a whole lot to say.
She has it right though.
Yeah,
I'm right.
listening.
You can
Yeah,
come
but
and interpret what I have to say.
yeah, but
You're
me, I
giving
give
your interpretation, and I'm giving mine. It's
so I
not
give my
right
own.
for you to come and say how I should think and how I should feel.
Glenn,
I don't have to take your opinion of what you're
calm
saying.
down.
No, don't tell me to calm down.
You know,
All right,
everybody is
Mr.
giving
Kamara, go ahead.
their opinion, but their opinions are also subject to challenge. So when somebody challenges your opinion, it is within the name of the show, Friday Night Debate. Understand that? Now, first of all, I agree with one thing she said. We cannot trivialize the $160+ million because, first of all, it's not our own. When somebody give you $1, it's their $1. You know, you can't say because you gave me $1 it was small, so I don't appreciate it. Why did you take it in the first place? But what we must also understand is what goes with the 100+ million. What go with it? Does it go into special expatriates that go there and get handsomely paid? Do we give up to 80% of those resources to people from overseas who went to work over there? Look, I'm not here to even challenge what America has done for Liberia. But the only thing I can say to Glenn and others is that lady knows what she's talking about because she is an expert in this area. Now, to the
What
point
area?
where
What area, Mr. Kamara?
Who is saying
history,
she's not? Who is saying she doesn't know what she's talking about?
world history, African history, that's her area. Those are she's what we call. But listen to this. What happened today, for me, I think people are making too much of it. You know, there's no complexity to this thing, in my opinion. If I am sitting somewhere and you're talking and I want to walk, I walk. My issue is why people are making it as if once she walks away, God has finally decided to take his angels and leave Liberia. That's the only thing. But yes, they have. If you want to define that as disrespect to Liberia, they have every reason to. They are the ones who have the embassy, and you stay under the plum tree when I was in Mamba Point. Whether the sunshine or whether the rain beat you, they have the right. You're the one who's fighting to go to them. You're the one who's looking for aid from them. You're the one who's looking for protection from them. You're the one who told yourself that they are your father. You're the one who told yourself that you have special relationship. Even though Talbot had a solid hand on his administration, I mean, if we subtract the nonsense of the 1979 stuff, but he had complete grip and a proper leadership. And some military junta of a 27-year-old boy who could barely read will kill him in cold blood, and America will give that boy up to nearly $500 million afterward. That tells you that they weren't giving you it for free. There was something involved. The lady knew what she was talking. If you don't want people to disrespect you, don't be the last. Don't be the one to eat the last food in their house that you didn't pay for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. General, I'll come to you after Thomas reacts to Glennie. General, I want you to get ready. I know you know a thing or two about diplomacy. I want you to interpret what happened today vis-a-vis the special relationship and the U.S. government's expression declaration on the performance of governance in Liberia. I mean, as recently as Michael McCarthy. I want you to think about that. But Thomas, go ahead and react to Glennie.
I just wanted to react to that line. The reason why she said, I want to re-echo this call. The issue of our national symbols has been a national project since the Civil War ended. When we fought war and we went to all the conferences on how to resolve the civil crisis and have peace in Liberia, the last one that was successful was in Accra, the Accra Peace Accord. And in that Accra Peace Accord, there was a unanimous decision that the reason why we went to civil war was because of exclusion, was because of marginalization, And it was because of poor governance. That's how the Governance Commission was established. Two institutions that were established in the Accra Peace Accord, the Governance Commission and the Human Rights Commission, the Independent Human Rights Commission. The Governance Commission was tasked with a responsibility to make sure that we address the root causes that led us to civil war. And before Manaseli second term regime ended, there was a national identity project that the GC was heading, which recommended that we go back and look at our national symbols and we look at our seal and all of those statements that we have on it. One of it was this issue of the law of liberty brought us here. People said that it only represents a group of people. How about the people that were met there? So she's saying re-echo because this is a national project. It has been ongoing. So for this to be surprising, to say, why is she calling for this? She's not calling for it in the context of Congo and Native, just to reawaken it. But this is a national project that we have been working on. Yesterday, we were here discussing the diaspora. And one of the things we said was that diaspora citizens are citizens who are out of the country, but remain very engaged with their country. This is someone who is specialized in this area and continue to research. She published books on Liberia. And for me, all of us here, we have specialization in our technical areas. We have this tendency in Liberia. Somebody who goes to school and learns something onto PhD, when somebody says something and we just want to dismiss it and say, oh, she shouldn't have said this. We have to respect this lady, that she's an expert in this area. If she did not know what she's talking, London School of Economics would have never employed her as a professor. I wouldn't discourage somebody who has a medical background when you say something I don't know, it's not my training, to just say, okay, because of this line, I'm going to dismiss everything else. If you ask me about the statement she made about US and Liberia benefit, I have my own opinion. But on the other issues, the historical issues that she said, they are well founded and they are established facts.
Thank you, Thomas. Jerome, I know you're coming in, but hold on. Glendon, I want you to, Thomas raising a point here on this her call for national independence. She said, why are we still calling our highest national honor the most venerable order of knighthood of the pioneers of the Republic of Liberia? I don't feel like my parents were pioneers of Liberia. I don't feel that way. Why are we still honoring people? Why is our highest order named after, venerable knighthood of the pioneers? What the pioneers? I think that's the point she's making. I think many of us find that divisive.
I mean, I think you're right. And like I said before we started the show, Thomas has an opinion. Thomas knows what he knows. Thomas can address and react to whatever he wants to react to. Glenda will react to whatever she wants to react to, the way she interprets it. Thomas is not Lord, and what his opinions are, they're not Lord and gospel to this speech. I mean, he's not occurring with, like, no one is naming him as the great interpreter of speech writers. I can interpret the speech based on how I understood it and what it means to me. So, and I don't have to have a knowledge based on what she knows and what she doesn't know. She gave a speech. I know Liberian history. I'm a Liberian, and I will react to it based on that. And Thomas can say whatever he wants. Aliu can say what. Gabriel can say whatever. Anybody can say whatever they want. They're entitled to their opinion. I'm entitled to mine. I applaud the fact that we have this young Liberian woman who is well learned, who spoke today from different aspects of issues on Liberia. I don't agree with the fact that she did not own up or blame Liberian leaders for where Liberia is today. The reliance on America has come from our Liberian leaders, and we cannot ignore that. And if that's the only part of the speech that I want to remain at, that's where I'm going to be. No one's going to change that.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I agree with her. Symbols are usually, rallying points for, a nation. But if some people are going to have a problem with a symbol, then it doesn't represent all. Symbols have to, appeal to all. But Jerome Gaiman, you have been with United Way for eons. I'm not saying you're old, but I'm just saying, you know a thing or two about diplomacy. So, quid pro quo and all the good stuff. They charge the first. We all live here in the States here. We know about protests. We also know about freedom of speech and expression. So they have said some very, very uncomfortable things to the face of our Liberian governments, including the most recent ambassador that she replaced. How will you interpret what happened today?
Well, you know, you will notice America does not go into anybody's home and set your agenda and your rules. You and I will argue and agree that while when America go to Rwanda, they do what the Rwandans say. They go to Ghana, they do that. Most recently, you saw when the vice president went to Ghana, she spoke to Congress and she pledged $100 million US. And at the end of her speech, she said, but there was a caveat. It was dependent on X, Y, Z. One in particular was equal rights for same-sex marriage. And the folks got up and say, Madam Vice President, with all due respect, this is not our culture. This is not our law. This is not our rule. In fact, we have laws that prohibits that. You can take back the $100 million. That is not one of the things that we will accept. Not verbatim, but something similar. Did America do anything? No, America did exactly what the Ghanaian rules and the laws call for. I'm saying that in context. If you want to be respected, you have to set your own boundaries. And you have to be willing to suffer the consequences of those boundaries. If someone comes into your home, Mr. Nagbe, I walk into your home and insult your wife and your children and your grandchildren, even if you were amputated, if you were an amputee, you would take your wheelchair and throw it at me and say, not over my dead body, you will insult me, my family. In my domain, I'm the king of this castle. Unfortunately, Liberia does not have that that grit. So I like this line when she said, we need a Liberia a radical agenda for reimagining we have to reimagine who we are. I think if you listen to one of the people that I admire, Dr. Dunn, when he spoke as an orator, during the early time he spoke on these same issues. He spoke on these same issues. And we are repeating ourselves over and over, and there's no implementation. And here we are, when we are talking about funding. You have a $800 million budget for the entire country. And 95% of the entire budget goes to paying ourselves and having a good time. And you expect the American to respect you. The American government that you are begging, your government officials, your ministers, your legislators make more money than the people who are giving you this largesse. I think Martin Collins laid out the other day, our protest makes more money. And our legislators, look at the money that these people are making. If every dime that comes in the country goes to rewarding yourself and you leave nothing. I was in Liberia and the delegation from this same embassy. And I were walking on Gurley Street and we're jumping over the pothole with the swish. Jumping over, we're going over to get some stuff. We're jumping over excuse the language, poo water. You think they look at me and I'm embarrassed. So have we Liberians say, you know what? Instead of taking all the money, we will cut our pay to a minimum and let it go to infrastructure development. No, nobody does that. So what does America say? If you want to eat your own egg, eat it. So we to be respected, it has to be earned. You cannot demand respect. It has to be earned. We have not done it. When we talk about public policy, we can write the glossy policy when you come is there. If we don't, Mr. Carter is here. He always talks about implementation. You can write all the laws you want. If you can't implement it, it means absolutely nothing. So these people look at us. She is saying you are not my equal. she will never treat people on her level that way. So they are looking down on us. We are not equal. And if you know, like the scripture said, we should not unequally yoke. This is it.
Okay, Bible man.
As unequal.
Thank you. Clarence. Thank you, Jerome. The you know, with the special relationship that we're supposed to have with the US, I know it took President Weah, former President Weah, a long time to visit Washington, and I understand that. I don't think President Boga has visited Washington, but we know the Senegalese president, I think, has already visited Washington, and we're supposed to have a special relationship with the U.S. I'm sorry.
Now, just laughing, I said you're right. The full they said what their special relationship.
Yeah, so Jerome is making a point about respect. Our national orator today said, she believes that the relationship, Coach Jerome, we are unequally yoked. America is getting a lot more out of us than we are getting out of them, and yet we don't seem to be enjoying that respect. Do we have a claim here? Can we lay any claim to, that we feel, we're being used, we're not respected, or are we making ourselves susceptible to disrespect? I mean, what do you think?
That's a very good question, and that's what I keep saying. We got to look at the bigger picture. Liberia does have a special relationship with the United States of America. It depends on the context in which you look at it. If you where someone just mentioned that sometimes we try to deviate from the argument that Liberia was colonized. Liberia was colonized. Liberia did not get established as a sovereign country out of the mind of the indigenous people. The indigenous people were civilized enough to invite in a group of African black-skinned people who they felt hold some identity with them and try to be hospitable to them. And their lands were hijacked. And we all know that our people were bombed into submission. And not just that, not just that they were bombed into submission. You understand that that Liberia that you look at down there for over 130 years or close to 100 years was governed by people who were appointed to Liberia from the ACS from America. Presidents were handpicked from the United States and sent to Liberia to govern. When their tenure was over, they changed and they sent another person from ACS. All right, it was not until 132 years when indigenous people rose up and stood up for what they felt was a marginalization of their political space, and they tried to seize power. Was that right? The way they did it, was it good? No, it was not right. But I mean, that's history. Now we do have a special relationship again in another sense that if you recall, when we had the World War I, World War II, Liberia declared war on Germany. And that alone diplomatically puts you at risk to be bombed by the Germans. If you declare war on Germany and you side with the Allied forces, you became you picked sides already. So if they wanted to extend the war to you, they would have done that. In other words, I'm saying Liberia took risks for the United States of America. Liberia gave the United States one of its bigger, not one, but its biggest communication hub, counterintelligence communication hub in Africa. And that was the VOA and the Omega. The operator from the lands of Liberia. Liberia hosted one of the America's largest Air Force base. That was the RIA that we talked about here today. During those days. So we do have a special relationship. But what we do not have is the reciprocal response to that relationship that what Pailey mentioned today. And let me give you an example that one of the things she did not say, and then people critique her. They said that she didn't give evidence. Let me give you some evidence. Ghana received indirect aid from the United States outside of the other petty cash, $150 million over the past fiscal year. And at the last income contribution to Ghana, Liberia received 111 million direct aid.
So
Ghana is part of Ghana is part of the Commonwealth of Great Britain. They get special benefits from Great Britain. Between 1998 to 2017, Ghana received 2.8 billion in British pound from Great
Yes,
Britain.
you get special relationship. You get
They
special
got special
relationship.
relationship. So we do have what we do not see is the reciprocation. Why is it not coming back with dividends? Glennie mentioned, I think it was Gabriel Glennie mentioned, when there's war, people go back to rebuild countries. Liberia went through civil war. We look at Ukraine. Just from the time of the Ukraine war to now, America has spent $175 billion on Ukraine. Annual aid to Asia is $3.8 billion to Asia, 3.8. Liberia, the special friend, the traditional special friend, long-term friend of America, cannot even get $1 billion budget, annual budget. And you yourself said it, Nagbe. You yourself just said it. The Liberia budget is far less than some of our municipal government funds. Far less. So is that disparity? Yes, there's disparity. But I like what she said. She said we need to reimagine. And Gayman said it. We need to reimagine that relationship. What do we want to get out of that relationship? I'm not blaming America for not doing her best alone. African leaders, and I like how she was very bold to President Joe Biden. She said, I know some people told you not to invite me, but you went ahead and invite me still. So just bear with me. Because I am who I am. I talk straight. And I want to tell you, you are not governing well. And everything that lady said, Nagbe, that's not something we've not heard before. Everything she said are things that are going on right now in Liberia that our leaders are they are disingenuous to the country. They are not fair to the country. And President Baka, who came with the hope and aspiration for change, is not doing well to bring the change that he promised. So yeah, we got a relationship, but I think what we're lacking is the reciprocal benefit to that relationship.
Thank you. Glennie, I want you to take out the rescue hat for a minute and answer me this.
So no, you gotta take that back. I'm not a unity partisan.
Oh really?
I don't think
I did not know this.
No, I'm not. I did not support George Weah, but I supported Joseph Parker, but I'm not from Unity Party. I have no party affiliations whatsoever.
Okay, Glennie, Olympic mom, not a rescuer.
Thank you.
Answer me this. Let's put this in context for a moment. Do you think Joseph Barker would have ever gone to address Joint Congress and say the thing and criticize the U.S. government and members of Congress who walk out on him if he had an opportunity to do that?
I don't think he would.
I'm trying to understand. We're talking about the unequal relationship and unequal treatment that seems to be existing here. We know what the U.S. ambassadors have said here over and over. McCarthy, he played football with Josh Weah, and then 1 hour later he would slam him, and all of that. And you can say in many instances, and in fact, in all of the instances, the allegations were warranted. But notwithstanding, there is a diplomatic channel. Do you think we could have done this to the U.S. government, go in the Joint House and talk and address Congress and say some uncomfortable things, and members of Congress will walk out? Or the president, because not just member of Congress who walked out today, is the president of the United States in Liberia, the Charge d'Affaires, who walked out today.
I don't think that would have happened. And that I don't think that would happen. But that's why I looked at their response today as not being juvenile. I think that response today was premeditated because they know who Dr. Pailey is. They know her.
Right.
So I don't think it was even spontaneous for them to get up. I think it was something that we're going to sit, we're going to listen, we're going to hear. And if she gets to go to, that's what I think. And when she gets to a place where we think she's going to go, we're going to leave. That's why I think they jump up and left. But I doubt if that would ever happen. I don't think any Liberian, I don't think Joseph Barker will ever even do that. Or any Liberian will go to an American function and get upset by what they say and get up and walk. That's why I think, and then the response that they gave to say, she has a right to free speech and we have a right to decide not to listen to it, only leads me to the fact that what was done today was planned, wasn't just spontaneous, in my opinion.
Thank you, Damas. I'll come to you, Mr. Kamal. Damas, do you think should we be worried here? Do you think there's going to be a blowback from this diplomatic? You're muted.
I think the U.S. government has responded twice to whatever happened during the program, and this is where I also think that this should have not been a surprise. You see, the School of Oriental and African Studies in London, it has always been training these kind of people who will challenge the World Bank, challenge the IMF. They challenge this whole free market kind of approach. So if someone like that is coming to speak, you will imagine that the person is going to say some things that is not going to align. And this is where, for me, when I look at her profile and look at her training, the university is also globally an environment for free expression of opinions. You say whatever you want to say, and they train people based on what they believe in. So this is why I think it shouldn't have been much of a surprise in terms of some of the things that she actually said. If you go back and look at interviews that she has had in the past, she has always been blaming the World Bank and the IMF for Africa's poverty to an extent which is debatable, because like we are all saying, countries have managed to get out of the web of borrowing from the IMF and the World Bank because they've managed to push themselves out of poverty. But we have decided to associate with poverty. We are just satisfied with where we are. And to be very frank with you, between the West and the global South, why should we always continue to complain about exploitation? The global South across the board has been exploited, from Latin America to Asia to Africa. But Vietnam, Rwanda, these countries have managed to get over this. Why don't we try organize ourselves and get over it? So to answer your question about the diplomatic issue, if you look at the last statement that the U.S. government put out, they said, hey, we heard what you said. We heard the government respond to say, okay, this is free speech. To me, it was a collusion of rights, right? So she had the freedom to say what she wanted to say. The ambassador also had freedom of movement. She left. So it's just two rights coming together. But if you look at that statement, it's almost like the US government is getting over this. They say we stay committed to Liberia. We have a historical relationship with this government. We are going to move forward. I know there will be some diplomatic back channeling going on. So this is why I think for me, we should not even make too much of a big deal out of it, because the US is used to this. You know how many countries around the world bash the US? Even their own citizens, Jeffrey Sachs, William Esterle, every day they are attacking their foreign relation. That Dr. Pailey, we can't toss on the America be. They finish with that thing. Let's move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Kamara,
Yes.
Mr. Kana believe you may have dodged a bullet, but assuming if this had provoked a diplomatic incident, we think this is a lesson learned by the government. I mean, Glennie came on and said they understand the speech was not perused by the government. I mean, what were they trying to do here? How do you put someone on a podium for a major program like this, and you have no idea what they're going to say? You think this is the government practicing freedom of expression, or do you think there was a little bit of not being very responsible there?
Let me just say this first of all. There is no special relationship between Liberia and the United States. When you say Liberia and America have special relationship, that means it's mutual. There's no mutual and equal relationship here, so it cannot be special. Israel has special relationship with the United States. They can bomb 60,000 Palestinians tomorrow, and America will still get a 50 billion. That's what you call special relationship. You don't have any special relationship, America. Just put the low on the scale and try to weigh and see which way it goes. Look, there were no bullets to be dodged in the first place, Mr. Nagbe. I think this lady was on point. Her statement was timely, and it has helped both nations. America now, with all of the demonstration, in this issue will have a second thought moving forward. They will sit down and try to revisit. They have now realized that there is a stubborn woman of this nation who have learned some things and now is trying to open the eyes of her citizenry. Therefore, maybe there's something we need to do better than what we have done in the past. At the same time, we want to appreciate the Liberian government. We remember when the L'Oreal lawyer, what's the name? What's the Pele woman living in Ghana now? Councillor, what's the woman name?
Bowie.
Lima Bowie. When she was the orator under Mr. Gimen's government, and she said something against George Weah, we know what happened in the country. In fact, we know what happened on the whole planet. The assault, the attack on this woman was not easy by George Weah government officials. On the other hand, this is a woman who stood right in front of the president and told him to his face his faults and his misdeeds, and he nodded his head to her. This is a woman who was given a platform, even though she refused to allow the government to see what she had written, because she did not want any editing of what she wanted to say. She was called to say what she wanted to say. And she said what she wanted to say. Bash the legislature, they clap. Bash the executive, they clap. How can this be irresponsible, Mr. Nagbe?
Thank you, Mr. Kamara.
Victor, I just need 10 seconds. I think we have to be fair also to George Weah government. George Weah listened to Lema Bowie's speech. He didn't get up and slap her. He didn't get up and do anything to her. He listened. The people listened to Lema Bowie when she spoke. Lema Bowie said a lot of things, but her speech was directly about what was happening, what Liberians were doing to Liberia. So for us to say that the fact that Joseph Boyka listened and contrast it with George Weah, no, the backlash came after the speech. And I want to alert you that the United Party chairperson has now issued a speech condemning the speech today. So let's not contrast. Hold on one second. Let's not contrast this with George Weah and make it seem like Joseph Boyka, allowed the lady to speak, and George Weah did not allow Lema Bowie. That's not right. I'm not a George Weah fanatic, but I want to say that George Weah allowed Lema to speak.
Mr. Nagbe, don't let that pass. The speech she's talking about, the chairman wrote condemning the woman's speech. Do you have that speech? I kind of read it. I don't know where I can find it right now.
No, I did.
Underline the word condemning.
She meant today's speech.
Today's
speech. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about today. I understand. I understand. If you can pull that thing up, because I'm using one what you call right now. Pull that speech up and let's underline the word condemn. And let's find the condemnation in that speech that the chairman did.
Well, I mean, you two operate in the same sphere, so I think you know what you're talking about. But
by the way, until now, Joseph Boyka ministers have not attacked that woman. By this time, CDC ministers was attacking Lema Bowie.
This is not about CDC, man.
No.
Jerome, hold on. I'm coming to you, Jerome. Hold on. I'm coming to you. Mr. Kamara, I don't think this is about it. Blending here made it clear. She's just trying to balance out, the discussion. This happened on a George Weah, and it happened today on a Joseph Boyka, and she's trying to balance out the reactions. So nothing here.
But you're wrong.
Let's move. Listen, I want one of us here to take a minute. Let's do a round robin. Mr. Kamara here believes there is no special relationship between the U.S. and Liberia.
It's a myth.
Who's the graphics? I'm distracted now. Embarrassing, offensive, distasteful, and misleading. I didn't see condemnation there. I think Mr. Kamara is right, though.
But you don't have to say condemnation. Look at the language.
Thank you. Come on, Victor. Victor knows that.
But Jerome,
Jerome,
Mr. Kamara believes the U.S. and Liberia, there is no special relationship. Dr. Pearson, on the other hand, he enumerated some of the reasons why he thinks there should be a special relationship, even though politics is about what have you done for me lately. But he talked about the Omega station It was useful, but technology today may have rendered that obsolete. I don't know its usefulness. ROIA was also used for fueling and all of that. Now the drones and all of these things, maybe we have lost our relevance in the diplomatic sphere with the U.S. specifically. I want all of us to take a minute. Do we feel we really have a relationship with the U.S., or we don't have a cherished special relationship as we believe in Liberia?
Let me
Starting with you, Jerome.
Yeah, let me correct a few things with about his speech. Ellen Johnson said he tried when Vani Sherman was speaking. She asked Vani Sherman to send in the speech so they can look over the speech and edit and all, and she did that. When Vani Sherman got to the podium, the real speech was so there is no way you can go out there and tell an educated person, send your speech. Everybody would say yes, and then when they get out there, something else happens. Even if Joseph Waka wanted to read that speech, the Robtel that I know will have given him something to look over, and then when time comes, that's why she held the speech in her hand, made sure nobody had it. She was reading it like we used to do in kindergarten, but that's fine. And then another thing was it was not about Robtel that the U.S. government is upset about. It is, I think I talked to somebody here, I spoke to one of my sources, and they said, the reason the past government had problem was all the young radicals. They were being radicalized. So what Robtel is saying has the propensity to go to another generation of thinkers. So anybody who says we have dodged a bullet, I think you are mistaken here. What the U.S. is looking at is not Robtel. It's what happens if this message gets the young folks, which is what they say 67%, 60% of the population of Liberia.
This is supposed to be a 1 minute round robin. Do we have it? Do we feel we have a relationship?
I'm coming to that. So what I'm saying here, America, in this country, they always say, you get what you ask for. If we see our special relation with the United States in the form of doing this for us, and realistically doing it, America will do so. But if you see it in the form of me, I get like Barack Obama said, we hate leaders that take 10%, 20% off the top. Thank you.
Gabriel, do you think we have reason to feel we have a special relationship with the U.S., or we're just imagining it?
I think to answer that question, you have to look at the historical context of our history. And if you look at that from since our inception up to now, you will understand that what we have right now, that idea that we have a special relationship with the U.S. is an illusion within itself. It has always been there, but it's always been one way. There was one person calling us. It hasn't been symbiotic, meaning you benefit from me, I benefit from you. It hasn't been that way. It has always been one direction. And I think this is the mindset that the doctor was trying to put out there, that we should not see ourselves as America's stepchild anymore, right? This is the time you grow out of your house and become an independent nation of yourself without having an overlord directing what you should say. So I think this idea that we have a special relationship with the U.S., it's an ideology that we've held on to. But if you look at the context, the historical context, and where we are today, it has never been that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Glendy?
Let me just concede that Glendy is right, that he did condemn.
All right, Glendy, can you please let Mr. Kamara just use his 1 minute, because I think he can't wait. Mr. Kamara, I know you had said this. Can you give us a little bit more reason why you think this is an imagination in Liberians' minds that we have a special relationship with the U.S.?
But we have never had a special relationship with the United States. Let's go back to independence. We got our independence because Great Britain allowed it, not even the United States. They didn't even think you could govern yourself, and they still don't think you can govern yourself. The reason why you got the port of Monrovia today, the free port of Monrovia, and was built by the United States, was because the United States were using it to transport their things around the world. So they can't take it. If they could take it, they would have taken it. They can't take it. It's already built there. The reason why you have RIA today is because they needed a closer destination where they can refuel and other stuff to fight their war. It has to be based on what the United States gets. If the United States have no interest, we saw 1990 when the war was raging. George W. Bush Sr. said he had, in fact, he ordered the American sergeant in Liberia not to get involved. Not to get involved. If they don't see any significant reason, when the war was fighting at the time, the Cold War was over. They didn't have any interest in Liberia anymore. So for anybody who thinks that from 1847 or 1820 or 1822, when the first ship went to that area, landed in Liberia, that America loved Liberia so much. That's why America sent slaves to Africa. I mean, look, let me just tell you this thing. I don't want to be sophisticated about it. It's common sense. Just look at how we have operated. Ask yourself, do a little research right now and know how much America gave Morocco, the Arabs. How much America gave Morocco every year? It's almost in the billions. And somebody sent 160 million to Liberia and sent all of the expatriates from abroad, and most of them are making over $200,000 a year. And you're thinking that there's special relationship there? You see, I was listening to Glendy on their show today. Oh, the other people who is an economist. Oh, we save $600 million to Liberia, but who told you that? Do you know how many Nigerians living in America? They're by far more than Liberians. Do you know how many Nigerians send money to Nigeria? Do you know how many? And does that mean that Nigeria and America have special relationship? Do you know that Ghana received more benefit from the United States government than Liberia? Does that mean that
they made 1 minute finish, yeah?
Okay, my 1 minute finish. Let me go ahead and stop my 1 minute finish.
The relationship that we have for United
States, you got something going. You're been trying to hide it.
Right.
Just 1 minute.
Just a second, Glendy. Call us
Let's finish with our 1 minute now.
Follow us, yes.
Thomas, you coming? Thomas, you coming? Don't worry.
Let Thomas take my 1 minute. Give it to him.
Okay.
There are many paragraphs in the speech. Grandy can speak to only 2 paragraphs. So just give me her time.
That's the 2 paragraphs that interest me. The one that interests me. The other one, what she's saying, let me tell you. The other one she's talking about reducing salary, the salary will not be reduced. The other one she's talking about yellow machine will come. The other thing she's talking about people coming to work, Liberian won't go to work on time. So what is there that they have not been said? What's there?
She's not a rescuer, and she's talking like that. Okay, if you say so. All right, call us. You can join the show. Thomas, I'm coming to you. You can join the show by calling the number on the screen, and we'll be glad to take your calls. Thomas, your 2 minutes. Do we believe? I mean, we may have had a relationship with the U.S. decades ago. Do we really, even though Mr. Kamara doesn't even believe that, but should we really convince ourselves that we have a relationship with the U.S.?
So there is one thing that we can rewrite history.
Right.
We have a historical relationship with the U.S.
Oh, we got a historical relationship with China.
No, I come in. This is where the free slaves left.
This guy just stop himself.
How are we even talking about independence? Who then declared the independence? And are the free slaves? Where did they come from? They came from this country.
No, they were Africans. Africans.
1 second now. 1 second.
Right,
they were Africans. They were Africans. Were they all from even Liberia? They were brought from other parts of Africa, but that's the destination they took them. History tells us they should have settled in Sierra Leone. They went to Liberia because of malaria. Sierra Leone was the colony. That's where those who fought against the U.S. in terms of their election in this country, that's where Great Britain took them, Sierra Leone and other countries. So my point is that historical tie is there. And if you look at Liberia official statement, on U.S. Independence Day, on Liberia Independence Day, our president, everyone repeat this statement that we have a historical relationship with this. I think where it is becoming difficult is that we are monetizing the relationship. So how much have we getting? How much have we given to you? And this is where I kind of differ with the orator today. Until we really have evidence, have we been able to quantify this? There have been a lot of research that have been done on how Great Britain, for instance, exploited other countries. But again, there are benefits. You are talking about the airport, for instance. If you look at all of the argument that have been had in India on the issue of the exploitation of the Indian state by Great Britain, there are some positive aspects. They say, for instance, the railroads that they have, there are trains moving all over. Who built it? It was the British. They left it there. That's a national asset. So we are using the port. We are using the airport. Okay, they built it for their own purpose, but they left it there. And let's not undercut the aid that goes to Liberia. Maybe the exploitation was historically back then, but at this point in time, what U.S. investment will even have in Liberia besides Firestone? So to me, we as a country should be the one changing, adapting as times are changing. But to just continue to sit back, we don't do reforms. We are not moving ourselves forward. To just say we are going to hope on Liberia or on America, we should be the one holding ourselves responsible for where we are. The war ended 20 years ago. The same war we fought, Sierra Leone fought the war. The carnage that took place in our country took place in Rwanda. Why are we still where we are? I think we should be asking ourselves rather than throwing the blame on other people.
Now, I want to clarify something. Thomas missing the point.
I agree with you.
The reason why.
Hold on, Mr. Kara, hold on.
5 seconds. 5
Okay,
seconds. The reason why I'm insisting that we do not have a special relationship is to disabuse people's minds that the United States owes us something. There is no special relationship. There are two countries that are supposed to fight for their interests. So once you keep making Liberian people feel that there is a special relationship, there is with the people, the Americans that funded Liberia, this and that. All of these are kind of wrong history telling, because America did not establish Liberia. America may have bought a piece of land, but they did not establish Liberia. Let's understand that. Yes, they came to our aid at a certain point in time, but it was also based on their interests. Whatever they did, the left was based. Whatever they built and left was in their interest.
The American embassy.
Hold on, Karen, I'm coming to you.
The American embassy issued a statement today and said Liberia and America has a unique relationship. Even as the term is even stronger than the one we're using as a special. They say we have a unique, we have a unique.
Japan and America got unique relationship, but Japan.
That's euphemism. That's euphemism. Dig behind the word and get the meaning out.
Listen. Whether you like it or not, diplomacy is not as simple as it may sound or seem. The American ambassador walking out, Chargé Affair walking out the program today was not because she hated Liberia. It's because Liberia chose to have an orator.
She couldn't take the truth.
No. Listen, every one of us have been saying this so many times. That is not a new statement in Liberia. If you look at some of my postings, if you look at when America placed sanctions on government officials, go look at them on the internet. You see my strong stance against some of the actions against Liberia. I did mention some of the things. Some people even got vexed when they say our anti-American. But so she didn't say anything new. The only thing is that the platform that she was giving in the occasion was not maybe the platform that was appropriate for the occasion for the American being invited at that point. Now, when you have your national day and you invite other countries to come and celebrate with you, they said to come and ridicule the invitee you invited. I don't think that's the idea. That's what the American ambassador said. They took a measured response.
Nobody was ridiculed, man.
Let me say this quickly.
I don't know.
If you choose to have an aggressive orator, we too have the right to not sit and listen to the aggression of the orator. That's as simple as that. It's not country to country offense. It's your choice of orator and the people choice to listen. It's as simple.
Let me say this quickly.
Let me put you on the spot here. Let us say the U.S. and Liberia have a historic and democratic values that go English.
Unique.
Oh, they're okay. Have a unique history and okay. All right. If that's English. Okay, gentlemen, apparently and lady, right? I'm sorry. Apparently, we don't have any colors tonight. Lenny, I'm coming back to you still.
We have 3 colors.
Oh, we do. All right, Dennis. Let's hear them. I'm gonna guess Elvis.
Yeah. Hello, can you guys hear me? Yes. Is it me to go?
Victor, you got to respond to the caller.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, caller. I'm sorry.
All
You know,
right.
I'm new to this.
So it's this thing. Vic, Mr. Nagbe, thank you for taking my call. So it's this thing to say he's who paid the piper calls the tune, right? So we can sit here and beat around the bush, and we can talk all these things about special relationship or not, right? America pays the piper, so they're going to call the tune, and Liberia is going to dance to whatever tune the piper plays, right? So we don't take ourselves seriously. I mean, basically, that's what that speech was about. And this, I keep saying, goes to the educated class in Liberia, right? Everybody that owns platforms today that learn, people that went to school learn, that will sit on platforms and supposedly try to be political commentators or pundits, try to spin things when something bad's happening. He was talking to you guys too, right? Mr. Gamer CDC, Mr. Aliyu Kamara, Unity Party, right? If you're sit on platforms and try to spin things and lead the people, the uneducated people back home, we're going to continue to slide down this path. Political, how you call it? There's political people back home. I got special name for them. I won't say on the show tonight. But they're going to continue to reinforce it. The things you guys say on the show, when I talk to people back home, they repeat the same things you'll say, right? To justify whichever party they support. And that's just one of the things I had to say. As far as special relationship, right? Maybe Liberia and America have a special relationship, but we haven't been able to tap into that special relationship because we don't take ourselves seriously. Where Ghana is, that's what Liberia is supposed to be. Physically, where Ghana is right now, that's what Liberia is supposed to be. And with that, when it comes to that relationship, when you say Ghana getting more money, we're supposed to get way more. But we don't take ourselves seriously. That's the reason why the Americans aren't going to take us seriously. So I keep saying this again. We go to school, we learn, but we don't implement what we learn. We learn basically to mislead our people back home because we like George Weah, because we like Joseph Boakai, not because they are the best people to lead us, but because we like them or because they benefit us personally. So until we get rid of that and start to speak on these things and rebuke these guys back home, it's never going to work. Thank you for taking my calls and happy to everybody on the show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Could you state your name before you leave? We missed getting your name.
Hassan.
Okay.
Hassan,
All right.
Hassan,
Next caller. Next caller coming.
Happy Independence to every one of you. This is Procol Bayou.
Happy Independence Day.
Thus far today being our Independence Day, I'm also so happy for the young lady that spoke today, the orator. You know, I've been one of the Liberians. I've been saying this and been advocating this secretly on the ground in my communities, in my organizations, trying to inform my fellow Liberians that the concept, the notion that we have as Liberians, that the United States really cared about Liberia, it's a lie.
Exactly.
That's just a fact. I don't care what Liberia will say, oh, we're doing this, we should have done this for ourselves, this. We can't put the blame on other people. Look, if you have a country as powerful as the United States, undermining a little country in Liberia, you can't do anything. You can't do anything. Look, I remember when the war was going on in Liberia, we were here demonstrating and advocating for the United States government to get involved and try to help to bring the war in Liberia to an end. There was a senator from Virginia by the name of Senator Wanda. I know if any of you remember him. He's no longer a senator. I don't know if he's still alive. He gave an interview on MSNBC at a time when they asking about Liberia. The man said it plain. He said Liberia is not a strategic interest to the United States. When I listened to that interview, my whole mindset and concept about Liberia and America relationship changed when I did up to today's date. And I just said, they do not, you hear me clear, they do not care about Liberia. No matter what we say, no matter how we try to frame it, it's just a waste of time.
Thank you.
America has a strategic interest, and when you don't fall in that category, they don't care about you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I listen to Brother Kamara, Will Kamara. This is one of the men I listen to all the time when I listen to the talk show. But I'm sorry, I have to agree with him tonight.
So you business.
Everything he's saying is on point. We are not a strategic. Look, they just use that terminology, unique partner. If you look the way Americans speak English, that was the way unique. If you look on this, they trying to tell you in another sense that you are not that really important to us in the first place. Now you want to blame us for all your problems? That's what they're telling us in that word, unique. If we were strategic partners today, they would say Liberia is one of our strategic partners, and we disagree with what the Orator was saying today, and we find it to be divisive. People are saying that, but they use the word unique. And some of us who went to school in this country, we know how the Americans speak English.
Thank you.
When you
Thank you.
You gotta look at your body. Maybe you miss body in somewhere and I said it's fine. Not because the thing is beautiful.
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
So we are not a strategic partner to the United States. We need to clear this notion up. So I know.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any more, Dennis?
Freeman.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm Freeman calling from Texas, Austin. Firstly, I just like to speak to the Liberian has a unique relationship with America. The word unique is relatively used depending on the case and the situation. In the case of Liberia does have a unique relationship with America, but Liberia it doesn't really mean much for America. The historical relationship, repatriating free slaves, establishing the country, using Liberia as a ground, as a battlefront for them to be able to go into World War II, has helped them, and that built a relationship. That made the relationship unique, but that does not make Liberia a strategic nation in partnership. As far as the speech goes, I think, Liberians will have to adapt to the ideology of being able to speak up and criticize the United States and criticize any other nation, including the government of Liberia at any point in time. And by analyzing it, you should always think of it from a broader standpoint and a positive standpoint. What do we stand? How can we analyze a speech that speaks to the ills in society? Do we accept it or do we not accept it? Is it factual or is it not factual? I think if we, speak to those points, we'll definitely get an answer to where we want to go. And one of the key reasons for Liberia's status today is the leaderships that come to power and liking what we call patriotism. If you develop a patriotism mechanics, mindset and drive with it, you're definitely going to get somewhere. Comparing Liberia to Ghana, Ghanaians believe in patriotism. Liberians have not demonstrated that. Perhaps you can relate that to other countries around the world. I don't think Liberia has ever done so since the war. The unity government in the first administration during Ellen's time, they had a lot of support, but not a lot that came out of that. You will compare that to Tottenham time, where there was a growing economy with no substance as far as development goes. So the patriotism is one thing that must be developed. If we can generate that in our own selves, and we can show that we have to do it for our country, we'll definitely get somewhere. As it is now, I doubt it. I'm not sure where we're going. But Liberia does have a future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is that it, Dennis?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks again to the callers. Our panelists, thank you very much tonight. Let's go around and close out. Let's sum up everything. We know the Independence Day oration. Besides, I think the president's state of the, what do we call it? State of the Union, state of the
nation.
nation. I think that's the most important statement that is ever made in Liberia. And so today, that opportunity was given to Dr. Pailey. Let's just close out. Good use of the opportunity, not so good use of the opportunity. Let's take like 5-10 seconds each, starting with Dr. Pearson.
Thanks, Nangwe. It was thanks for having me on the show tonight. You know, I just want to say this. When you are in a relationship, when you are in a marriage, and the marriage is not going good, you can't say that you are not married. You know, and that's what's going on here right now. You're not managing your marriage well. You cannot say because your marriage is not going good, so you're not married. Liberia does have a special relationship to the United States because, in fact, we were founded as citizens of the United States of America as a nation. America sent presidents to our country for over 120-something years before we even elect our own president on the ground here. Not only that, our military, post-war military was trained by the United States Army. Before Charles Taylor could leave Liberia, it took an American president to say, Charles Taylor must leave now. So we do have a special relationship with the United States. Take it however you want to. That's why I was saying, I think someone saying, I want to re-emphasize, we've not managed that relationship well, and we've not make ourselves innovative enough to benefit from that relationship. President Boyka traveled to the United States to attend the conference, the Democratic conference that Obama had. He was sitting in a small room in Texas there, receiving guests. William Ruto, on the other end, was striking a deal with Joe Biden to send troops to Haiti. While Boyka was leaving from America, coming back to Liberia, William Ruto was giving a red carpet welcome from Kenya into the White House. And then he was given a first-class treatment as a president from Africa. We need to massage our relationship with the United States. Someone said it here, and I want to end on that. It's a give and take, and we not give them money in return. But we can give them good governance. We can give them a country free of at least minimum level of corruption. We can give them minimum level of bad governance. We can give them good structural change, and like our orator said today, on freedom, our people, give them equality, and give them what it takes to move Liberia forward. If we ever to have another Firestone, we shouldn't give our land for free. If we ever to get another Metal Steel, we shouldn't give it for free. If we should ever do another BRE, we shouldn't give it for free. If we should ever do another SM Mobile, which is our American company, we shouldn't do it for free. We should benefit from the opportunity we have with America and do it well. Thank you.
All right. Obviously, the young doctor did not take the instructions because I'm asking for a different thing. He just went on his own. But let's take 1 minute.
I heard close now. I decided to just close.
Okay. All right. So you don't want to restrict this. Okay. But let's take 1 minute each. Do we think that today's opportunity was put to the best use or not so best use? The National Oration Day. I know Mr. Kamara is not ready yet. Thomas, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the background of Dr. Pailey, and this is where I'm saying people should not be surprised. She's an academic. This is what she studied, and beyond the statement that she made today, if you follow her, much of what she said today has been coming out. When we celebrated the 20 years of the peace agreement in 2023, she wrote a piece and said Liberia is celebrating negative peace, not positive peace. She wrote a book on dual citizenship. So she has been saying these things. So to me, it's not really surprising to me. One of the cardinal points she makes is that after the Civil War, we are focused on state building rather than nation building.
Yes.
And that is extremely true. Yeah. We are just building institutions. And if you go back to George Weah regime, they say we build NPA head office, we build this. But are the ordinary people really benefiting? Or we just, somebody spoke about the educated class. We are the one enjoying everything rather than the money getting to the people. We are still resisting decentralization rather than rolling out the money to the people. So there are a couple of things she said which are really true. I would say 90% was directed to us, maybe 10% to the other. This is just what I'm saying. I disagree with her on the issue of the U.S. relationship. I do think we have a historical relationship that we cannot erase from our history. She has even contested that we should not call the people who left from here Americo-Liberians because they were not Americans. If they were Americans, they were not going to be thrown out of this place. So she's an academic that has been testing a body of knowledge that she has come across. On the issue of what she said about the American, you have to be extremely brave to be able to dare this. Even the second most powerful country in the world right now, it was like a couple of months ago when they started calling America by their name. They wouldn't do it. So I think she was overly brave to be able to do that today. Diplomatically, I will question that, but let's not throw the whole speech and just condemn it because of the two paragraphs that were there. That's just my whole submission about this thing.
Thank you, Thomas. Lenny, I mean, you have repeatedly reminded us here that she is an activist, and the government was aware of that. So, can we assume that the government expected this to be said, and they got what they wanted? She said what they wanted to say.
I mean, she was a guest of the government. The president sat through it. The
Yeah.
president nodded. Government officials hailed the speech after the speech. I think it's twofold. I think she accomplished what she wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
She had the right audience, the right timing, and she said what has probably been in her mind for a while. Now it's left with the government to act on the things that she said.
Yeah.
Some of the things, the reason why I keep going back to like Thomas will want to refer to as a two significant paragraphs. Talks about America. We can't ignore that. America is a significant partner to Liberia, whether we want to agree with it or not. They've been, they will continue to be. So everything else that they've said is not, everything else she said as it relates to the House of Representatives or the Senate legislative branch, the executive branch, those are things that we know. Those are things that it's been said about since Ellen Johnson time. Change has not come as it relates to those things. But and of course she knew that was why, and when I emphasized her being an activist, that was why she put America in that speech to be able to accomplish what she wanted. Because she knows, she's a historian, she knows what's going to drive the conversation. And that is why it's in there. And so nothing else, no one else talking right now. UP people, rescue mission, they're happy. Nobody talking about yellow mission. The focus on now on yellow mission, even though it was mentioned, the focus now is on the relationship between America and Liberia. And on that aspect, I think she accomplished what she wanted. And I think the fact that the government did not review the speech, they have to agree with what she said. It represented their values.
Absolutely. And thank you very much. Even though the Minister of Information issued a belated disclaimer, but I think
it's pretty late for that.
Yes, the ship already left. Gabriel, I encourage everyone to read the speech. It's pretty lengthy, but you can read it in probably 5-10 minutes. There's a lot, food for thought that was contained in that speech. Unfortunately, this one incident. Do you think this one incident kind of stepped on her own message? This incident with the U.S. Embassy and the charge d'affaires walking out, Miss Rodriguez. I don't even know what kind of Spanish country. Anyway, but Miss Rodriguez and the team stormed out. You think all the other stuff will get lost in this whole, diplomatic brouhaha?
No, and I think we keep alluding to this over and over of the doctor's background. And if you guys have followed her, if there's one thing that has been true is her consistency in terms of what she talks about. This speech is just a bigger platform in the country she's formed that, to narrate some of her beliefs, But if you've been following her, I think I first started listening to her when she went on the British national TV and, was talking about some of these things as well, right? So if you've been following her, what is this?
Dennis is busy in the back. Zizek Goya is supposed to be the FOL virtual Independence Day orator. That's my buddy from Minnesota.
Yes, we'll be watching.
All right, let me continue. If
Get
you've been
ready.
following the
You don't
doctor,
carry through with that, right? You got distracted. But go ahead.
no, what I was saying is that if you've been following the doctor, it's everything she said has been consistent with who she is. And I think if you, what we're trying to do is take away from her academic achievement. This lady spent years of researching these things from the historical context to come and articulate it in front of us and to kind of just distract it to say, hey, this is it's going to take away from the entire speech. I think that is uh, some of the problem that's wrong with us as a country, right? But what I wanted to say also is this mindset that we have, that we think somebody being bold and articulate, create some kind. We if you look around Africa as a whole, we're very passive as a people. So you see somebody like the doctor being articulate in terms of, okay, who is she to even stand up to the U.S. to call out the U.S. when other people cannot call them out? These are the kind of people we need in Liberia. In as much that you might think it will have consequences, hey, if you want to chart your own path, you got to come out of your parents' nest and chart your own path. And in order to do that as a country, you need people like her coming out of the being very bold and being very articulate in terms of what the country needs to be. But to answer your question, I do not think it took away anything from the message she was trying to get across. What happened, like you said, the United States responded to it as they wanted to. They felt like, it kind of disrespected them. They didn't want to listen to it. They thought it was divisive. I don't think it was divisive. It was just somebody narrating the country history, calling everybody to what she think the country should be. And they didn't like that part, that they got called out. But I think that was a great speech in its entirety. And I think she should be applauded for giving that kind of speech and being that kind of bold to call out, your quote unquote big brother that everybody is so afraid of. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Mr. Gilman, there's a lot that she said in there. She spoke to everybody. She spoke to Liberians generally, reimagining ourselves anew. She spoke to some of the government officials, the legislators, and all of that. Reduce the salary. And she spoke directly to the president. She told him no politicking should allow him to derail. What he's doing, he should withdraw. She specifically said he should withdraw the nomination of the World and Economic Crimes Court appointee. You think the government got kind of lucky? I think all of those calls that she made will be overshadowed by one, the whole election thing going on here in the States, and of course, what the embassy staff did today. So you think the government may have gotten a little lucky here because you try to shine a spotlight on some of the stuff that's going on today in the country?
No, and this is why the government officials who were directly accused are stressing this little portion of the speech. Everywhere you go, they are not talking about Robtel, talking about yellow machine, or you have appointed shady character and you know who you are. I mean, she went deep and she said these things, but I want to go down to a few things here. One, what I think it was called maybe the colonization and all of this, but I think PLO said it best when he came to visit me here in Florida. He said, Jerome, he said, can you imagine the people of Liberia or Kenya or Ghana? The people were elect. They would die. Some would die to elect their president. The president they would be outside in a million jubilating. The president would not address them, but he would come out of his castle and say, ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. government, the president of the United States just called me to congratulate me. Can you imagine the impact of that? This is what he's talking about. America is a great country and they respect those who respect themselves. If you did what you had to do and you tell America, this is what I want with clean hands, they will listen to you. I remember after we did this and Barack Obama went to Africa, everybody said he would at least stop over in Liberia. He stopped in Ghana. Never even mentioned Liberia. When someone mentioned it, he said, we respond to leaders who does not, a leader that do not skim 20% off the top. We knew where he was going with this. When they say $17.5 billion went into Liberia from 2005 to 2017, $17.5 billion. Can you see where that $17 billion went for a small country, 5 million people?
I mean, you still got potholes in front of Logan Town and Douala and all
That's
those
what I'm saying.
places.
The MSA staff were walking with me and we're jumping over filth, the feces.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this to say, Robtel was right on the money. This is the conversation that need to be had, and it should continue. And if we reimagine ourselves by good governance, reducing our salary, our wage bill from 95% or maybe 50%, everybody has to tie the belt. We all have to sacrifice to some degree if we want to move this country somewhere. I think somebody even mentioned, I think what the late Tana Pole, he says, my people, I don't know too much book, but we are spending too much money repairing Monrovia that was not well planned for. Let's build a new city. Let's start thinking. This is a man that they say he was illiterate, but he have figured this out. So when this lady is talking about we need to reimagine our existence, we should start. The charity begins at home. Let's start in war first. Then we can now blame America and everybody else. But if we are stealing from ourselves, stealing from our children, stealing from generations to come, and then we say, well, America not doing much, it doesn't jive.
Thank
so
you.
I think the special relationship has to be, we have to be true to ourselves first.
Thank you, Jerome. We are way past our time, Mr. Kamara. As you close, let's please keep it brief. I'm sorry, unfortunately, you will bear consequence of our.
Oh, he doesn't speak too long. He doesn't speak.
Well, let me ask you this as you close. I think I saw one of the president of Ghana in attendance. What happened? I mean, our Independence Day, usually we receive guests from all over the, other leaders. Were there other leaders besides the president of Ghana in attendance today?
Let me tell you what's important here right now.
Oh, you're not gonna answer. Okay, you're not gonna answer.
Yeah, that's the question. Let me tell you this. First of all, let me make it clear here. All of us on this platform are pro-America. We all love America. We appreciate America for the impact it has made in our lives. America has been a blessing to us. What we are discussing right now is the reality of the moment. America have never misled Liberia. Liberians have always misled themselves because they even refused to be independent, even though they fought for independence. If a Liberian man's name is not Delegation and Robertson, he's not satisfied. They will sometimes deliberately change their own name from Fokpaye to Robin Hood, just to feel sophisticated. That's the average Liberian man for you. Now, who taught them to dislike themselves so much that is not America's fault? And anything America has done in Liberia has been documented, has been based on an agreement. They negotiate and agreed upon it, and America's interest first. So we're not small brother to America. We're not America's stepchildren. We're nothing to America. We have bilateral partnership with the United States. And Liberian people must understand this. When this lady spoke today, I admired this lady a lot. The action from the American woman who did that, this is one of the reasons why sometimes I'm very cautious of giving women power. Because the decision is not made on rationality or logic, it's made based upon their emotions.
Ali, stop that. Stop that.
Yeah, I deal with Destiny herself and other statement.
Okay, so this statement represents Aliu Kamara, not Dennis Dar.
Well, which women are he employing?
Aliu, you cannot make that kind of
women
statement, my man. That is sexist.
Which women is he employing for him to say that and be so sexist? I mean, that's sexism right there.
Okay, y'all feeling like I'm not question?
Stay politically correct. We beg you, please.
This is my statement I'm making.
I'm
personally very cautious about giving women power. That's one of the reasons.
Mr.
Now,
So Kamara,
Hey,
please
the same thing we're just
we are
talking
all
about the
here.
woman had a right to speak. I can't even speak if
No,
you
no,
the
no.
Come
link.
on, my
Mr.
man.
Kamara, you can't spill those
We
kind
can't
of
be on. We can't be
comments.
on this. People faces
Yeah,
on
you
this
can't
thing,
do
and
that.
you're allowing that kind of comment. That is
Don't do that.
too sexist. That is sexist, not too sexist, but it's sexist. You cannot say that.
Mr.
You
Kamara.
finish? You finish now? I stand by what I just said. So, like I was saying,
Let me respond to him.
Dennis, y'all have a good night. I can't be on this kind of show, man. To make
No,
kind
no,
of
we
Mr.
gotta
Kamara,
turn,
man,
please,
we
we have
gotta
a
please
turn
woman
his
go
here,
back.
two listening
we
party,
gotta
Okay.
and
turn
saying
his
that kind of
microphone
stuff.
off because that is unacceptable. You can't do that.
Yeah. All right. Lady, Glennon,
Adios.
best of luck to the team. Glennon, give them our best wishes. I hope they pull through for Liberia. Happy Independence Day to all. Thank you all so much. We also realized that Mr. Wallace seemed to like the input from Mr. Cannon. That's a good thing. So thank you all very much. And God willing, see you again on Friday. Have a good night.
Have a good weekend.
Good night.
We all Liberia.